Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Issuance and Aptera Reg A webinar. I'm honored to be a co-host of this event. My name is Darren Marble. I'm the founder and CEO of Issuance. Issuance is a fintech firm that provides the industry's leading investment platform for Reg A plus financings. We founded the company in 2018. We have offices in LA and New York, so we are bi-coastal. And we're proud to say that we are exclusively focused on Reg A plus. There's a lot of platforms in the industry now, several years into these Jobs Act securities exemptions being live and heavily utilized, but we're proud to be exclusively focused on helping companies raise capital using the Reg A plus securities exemption. I'm joined today by two very senior executives with Aptera Motors, Sarah Hardwick, who is the Chief Marketing Officer or CMO of Aptera, and she's been our primary point of contact with Issuance, and Janice Sun-Burlingame, who is the Chief Financial Officer or CFO of Aptera, who is responsible for raising capital, keeping cost of capital under control, and spending the money that Aptera raises responsibly. One of the things that we're most proud about at Issuance is when our clients experience success. And Aptera Motors is not just one such company. They're in fact one of the most successful Reg A plus issuers in the history of the industry. They've raised more than $40 million at this point under Reg A plus. So they've had tremendous success. And we're here today to peel back the onion and learn about this business. What is Aptera Motors? What is the vision, the mission of the company? Why have they been so successful in raising capital under Reg A plus? And what are some of their secrets to community building, marketing, messaging, and where do we see this company headed in the future? And it appears to be a very bright future. So Sarah and Janice, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
Thank you, Darren. We're really excited to be here.
And so where's Chris? Where's the CEO?
Well, as you can imagine, he is extremely busy. And so he actually had to jet off to Europe for a really important supplier meeting. So we're sorry that he's not here, but we're happy to share our knowledge and talk to you a little bit about some of the great results that we've seen. So he's doing some great work for us, hopefully getting us to production even more quickly.
That's phenomenal. Jetting off to Europe doesn't sound like such a bad thing. So we hope that meeting goes well. So Sarah and Janice, why don't we start at the beginning? For people that might not know the brand, what is Aptera Motors? Tell us about the business.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. And what I would like to do this morning is just to give you a little bit of insight into our DNA at Aptera. As you imagined, and as you kind of mentioned earlier, Darren, the past year has been a whirlwind for us. And we have seen huge success, not only with our fundraising, but in building support from thousands of people all across the world. We now have over 17,000 reservations. We have thousands of investors. And so we were curious at Aptera, what is the reason behind why people fall in love with us? And so we've done some research, which we'll be sharing with you today, around the code for Aptera. And we'll share that with you today. We want to recreate that success. We want to build on that success. So we'll talk to you a little bit about what it means to be Aptera and be a part of our Aptera family right now. You can share.
Excellent.
Sharing? Yes. Okay, great. Wonderful. So we were lucky to be able to have the opportunity to work with a renowned expert and researcher, Dr. Rapai, and he has actually created and uncovered the code for dozens and dozens of brands all across the world. He is really, really well known. And so he helped us to do some research. We did focus groups and we did research all across the country to really uncover why people fall in love with Aptera. And he helped us to uncover our code. And that code that we discovered is movement. So life is movement. And we are alive and moving forward into a positive new direction. And Aptera, at our company, our mission is to lead a movement towards solar mobility. So we have a direction, we know where we're going, and we're showing everyone the way. Thanks. So at Aptera, we're a solar electric vehicle company. That's what makes us unique. And the sun is our superpower. The sun is energy. It creates life. It is essential for our health and well-being. Plants need sunlight. It generates vitamin D. The sun is our superpower, and it gives people the ability to travel up to 40 miles a day just on the power of the sun, using the power of the sun alone, in addition to 1,000 miles range that you get when you charge our vehicle. One thing that might be a little surprising to you and to some of our community members is that we don't see ourselves as being in the car business. We see ourselves at Aptera as being in the life business. And we're creating a new future, a future that has never been seen before. And we're helping to give people life and mobility and forward motion. And that impacts every aspect of our lives. We see at Aptera that we're creators, and our higher purpose is to eliminate some of the destructive forces that we see happening. We're really in a paradigm shift now, and unfortunately, there's a lot of concerns that we have around what's happening with our environment and what's happening to our planet. So people are moving so fast. We have advancements in technology, but it's not always moving in the right direction. So Aptera is moving towards harnessing creative energy and moving that forward in a positive direction. So from the very beginning, that has been our purpose. Our purpose is to transform the world into a more creative and a less destructive place. And we do that by applying breakthrough technology to create the most efficient solar transportation on the planet. And that's really what we have done with Aptera, is create something that has never been seen before, something that does what no other vehicle can do, and that is the most efficient vehicle on the planet. One of the core tenets of Aptera and our mission and our DNA is collaboration. So we want everyone to be a part of our movement. We want to embrace and welcome all of the new ideas that have been coming. We really appreciate everyone with all their different approaches, and we use those different ideas and approaches to really fertilize our thinking. We make new connections, and we use this to open new doors of opportunity. And another one of the unique things about Aptera is about convergence of diverse elements. So we don't just take what's expected. We actually take new ingredients and we put them together in a way that's never been done before. And it's about that unity and that flow. And that is what we have been able to do at Aptera, and part of what really makes us unique. And we're all about continuous innovation. We will never be finished. We are a brand that is filled with surprises. We're filled with new ideas. We never close the circle. So that's really core to our identity. We're about transformation, and we're about metamorphosis. We also care what happens to the planet. As I mentioned, our mission is to use creative energy to stop some of those destructive forces. So the reason why Aptera was created in part was to create a better future for people and the planet. And so that's really core to who we are and what our company stands for. And we are radically simple. Our members have a different relationship with our products. So you'll see our vehicle is simple. Our philosophy as it relates to repair, we have a right to repair philosophy that's very simple. Our products are very intelligent, but very simple to use. And we are beyond efficient. So beyond creating the most efficient vehicle on the planet, that efficiency is woven through all aspects of our operations, from our manufacturing process all the way through to our marketing efforts and beyond. And we want people to feel that a whole new universe has been opened up. We want people to see that we endeavor to do the impossible, but we don't stop there. And we embrace solar mobility. The sun is our key element. So one important thing to know is that Aptera is a three-wheeled vehicle, but it's a platform. It's the first in a portfolio of solar mobility products that we will be creating moving forward. And we're using that solar power in every aspect of our lives to create a better future. We're a very inclusive brand. we are for everyone. We're for people who love polar bears, people who care about the planet, people who want a new way to drive around. We want for people who want freedom. You don't just buy an Aptera or invest in Aptera, you join Aptera. So no matter where you live, even if you don't get a lot of sunshine, we have people who are a part of that movement. And we're really creating the future today. So we're applying breakthrough technology in new ways ahead of anybody else to turn those dreams into reality. And our time is now. So with that, that's good. Yeah, and I think a couple of key things. So as far as joining the movement, we'll talk about that a little later, but that's been core to our success in fundraising, is inviting our members, our reservation holders, our ambassadors to join the movement and become a part of that. And that's really been a core part of our success. And there's a lot to come next. So we really haven't even scratched the surface in where we're going as a company. And that's kind of what we would love to share with you a little bit about today. So that's our core to who we are. And for us, that's what's really important to communicate that. And for people who are investors and becoming a part of that, they feel like they're a part of something that's bigger than them. And this code, this is what we've uncovered, is that core emotional connection that people make with our company that is really why they decide to become shareholders in the company and make reservations. So
I really appreciate that, Sarah. I think you did a great job encapsulating the business and its core tenets. Maybe you can go back a few slides in that deck to let's leave us on one of those beautiful images of the vehicle. Janice, I've got a question for you, because you've had such tremendous success with this capital raise. I think it leaves a lot of other companies in awe and probably very curious or intrigued about how you're having success. And one of the things I've always said in the Reg A industry or equity crowdfunding industry is that companies need to be very smart about how they communicate their vision, mission, and values, that there is an emotional component to these investments. So can you maybe talk for a minute or two about Aptera's vision, mission, values, and what makes them so special?
Yes, so like Sarah so eloquently put, we are special because we're moving from destructive energy. So that's all the fossil fuels, all the natural resources, to creative energy, like the beautiful sun, the God-given power. And that's what makes us special, is we're moving that, we're in this movement to make a better earth. I can go home from work every night, look at my two girls in the eye and say, Mommy's doing something to build a better future for both of you, for your friends, for the next generations to come. So I think that's what makes us very special here.
Yeah, and you can see it, just to add to that, our employees work long hours, they work weekends, they're up early and they stay late, and they do that and they help to drive our company forward because they share those common values. So we hire employees based on people who share those same values, and they're motivated and they're a part of feeling like they're doing something that's making a positive impact on the planet. And I think having that ability to bring people in and creating that culture based on our values, I think that's really helped us a lot from a business standpoint as well, because you can see it in the motivation. They're motivated by something that's bigger than, just going to work every day. So that's definitely transparent in our company as well.
Yes, this passion and purpose is what drives us.
I love the way you sum that up, Sarah. There's a mission here that's bigger than the person, and I think that's key to inspiring retail investors, both here in the US and internationally. And so that leads to another question, and maybe for you, Janice, which is, why did Aptera decide to do a Reg A plus financing? This is a securities registration exemption. It's only been around for 5 or 6 years. And a company like Aptera, you're in a hot market, right? This is there's a cultural zeitgeist. And I think this type of company taps in and checks a lot of boxes for traditional institutional investors or investment banks. So why did Aptera decide to do Reg A?
I think it's this connection that we feel with the audience, and we want to give people a way to directly invest in Aptera. So this was the best method to achieve that, the most efficient route. And even just 5 years ago, you couldn't invest in Apple, Microsoft, or Tesla the way you can invest in us right now. So crowdfunding is leveraging the playing field between the ultra wealthy, organized capital, and the average investors like all of us. And I think it's the best way to invest in things that you truly care about and companies that share and shape a better world for all of us. What's interesting is people think crowdfunding is a new concept, but did you know it started over 1,000 years ago? These ships that would go out to explore new worlds, people would crowdfund and put capital in funding the ships going out and then share the goods. And even Mozart did crowdfunding to do his performances in Vienna. So while it may sound like a new concept, and it is because the Reggae Plus Title IV was passed in 2015, the concept is not so new. So that's a fun fact for you right there on crowdfunding.
I love that. I think you're right. I think people do think of it as a very new thing. But if you really look back, I think you're right. There's a number of examples of crowdfunding, whether it was labeled as such then or not. And this is the most current version here in 2022. So, you talked a little bit about this community and inspiring people to join a movement bigger than themselves. Can you talk, Sarah, for a moment about the importance of community in capital raising? You had this fairly substantial reservation list before pursuing the Reggae, before thinking about the marketing campaign. How does Aptera think about its community, and how did that community play into your current success?
I mean, we absolutely would not be where we are today without the support of our community. It has been, a driving factor in, the success of our company overall, certainly in the success of our fundraising campaign. There are a couple of things that we have done, I think, that have really helped to build that community, to galvanize the support. One of those is the creation of an ambassador program. So we have ambassadors. They range from high school students all the way up to retirees. They're NASA scientists, they're entrepreneurs, they're professional athletes, they are, innovators. So there isn't necessarily a common kind of demographic profile, but they all share those same values. So the ambassadors, we activate them in a variety of different ways. So we give them, early advance notice of new things that are happening, of progress and milestones that we're making at Aptera. They really feel like they're a part of our company, almost, kind of behind the scenes. And we have them organized into a variety of different committees. So we have a communications committee, for example, where we have ambassadors who volunteer their time. They moderate our forum. They're out there, looking at the information that's being shared on social media, and they're jumping in if people have questions, if people want third-party kind of validation. They're answering those questions, they're getting involved, they are going out to events, they're speaking at EV clubs, they are submitting us for, trade show and speaking opportunities. They are, really a part of a daily basis, kind of what we do to build out our community. We also have a government affairs community where they're activating the support of, from a political standpoint, different legislators who are in their area. So we keep them organized, and we empower them with information that they can go out and share. So they have been, I think, a critical driving force behind our success. They're all over the world, these 500 ambassadors. So we'll continue to grow that program, because for us, it's just been really, really core to, who we are. And it really allows us to have a reach that's greater than, even it would ever be possible before.
And I have to give Sarah credit for mobilizing these ambassadors. I'm so proud of how far we've gone with it. When we went to the climate conference, COP26 in Glasgow, we met with over 8 ambassadors that were representing United Nations and Aptera and promoting this movement that we're starting. And it's so humbling to see the support, and we're very grateful for that.
I'm jealous. 500 ambassadors is no small feat. I think any brand would be privileged to have that kind of community and leaders within the community, syndicating the message and prophesizing the mission of the business. And by the way, for anybody watching, I want to encourage you to ask questions. We've got 2 incredible executives here on the webinar, Aptera Motors, who's truly and literally making history in more ways than one, both with the business and in terms of their success and their Reggae financing, $40 million raised. So please don't forget to ask questions. We'd love to give you an opportunity to interact. Another question I have, Sarah, relative to the marketing, because you're not just marketing this campaign online to the community exclusively. You're also looking for new investors. So I'm curious, from a marketing standpoint, how do the community and paid media marketing How do those things relate and work together to help you raise capital?
That's a great question, and we have definitely been really impressed with the effects of paid advertising. I think it really starts first and foremost with the production of our own content. So that's kind of the foundation. We have a video team that goes out when we have track days. They capture footage of the track. They're capturing these milestones. They're interviewing engineers. They're creating stories. They're really showing everyone what is happening behind the scenes, what it means to, work every day to build a solar electric vehicle. So it really, I think, starts with the foundation of having really excellent content where we see ourselves as a publisher in many ways, and we're publishing and creating our own content on our own channels. And then we amplify that through paid advertising. So then for people who might not be as familiar with Aptera, we take this great content that we've produced and we can target audiences that we know have an affinity for our brand. So we have different, categories. They all we have a freedom seekers category where there's trailblazers and, kind of technologists, and we have purpose seekers, and there are people who care more about the planet, and there are people who have, care about building kind of a company that is more conscious of social good. So we have created different audiences, and so it allows us to really extend beyond the typical reach that we would have, and it allows us to attract audiences and individuals who might be outside of that Aptera community. And then I think we've also used paid advertising and to align with other places where we know people who are interested in these kind of non-traditional investments might be. So we partnered with different, companies who have allowed us to help, through sponsored email blasts and things like that, where we know that we have people who are really thinking about what's next in investing overall. And I want a chance to get in, as Jen has said, early on a company or an industry that is going to be changing the world. And so it allows us to get, an opportunity to work with, some communities that are already there. So it's definitely helped to amplify and the reach and extend the reach of our brand.
That's fantastic. And question for you, Janice, when it comes to pricing, I've always felt that one of the key drivers for companies to come into this industry is the fact that founders have the ability to set their own terms. In other words, generally in success, founders walk away with greater ownership and control of their own businesses than if they were to go raise $40 million from a venture capital firm down the street. Not that VC is bad, but this is a very attractive component to Reg A+. And so I'm curious, how did Aptera come up with the pricing strategy? How do you determine valuation and deal structure? Can you talk us through that for a minute?
Sure, I'll simplify it. It is in our ethos, simplicity, and Michelangelo did say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So we set a sensible valuation given the market conditions, and then we're raising money in accordance with the value. Now, we want to keep our capital low. We've raised prices at a few key milestones. For example, delivery of our first alpha, building our beta. So that's how we are gauging the valuation. And it's really important to keep it very conservative. I'm personally a risk-averse person, and so we do industry comps as well. And as we've seen, based on our comps, we are relatively conservative in setting our valuation. And people are smart. They know when you're trying to achieve a reasonable valuation. So I think that the combination of these factors is how we set our valuation.
I like that answer, and I agree with you. I think people are smarter than the traditional investment community would give them credit for. And Shark Tank's been a long time. And so people have a sense for basic deal structure and terms and valuations. And that's a really interesting comment there you made. And so I'm curious now that you've had success, you've set reasonable terms, you've driven thousands and thousands of investors from your community and beyond into the deal. What's that been like? Tell us a little bit about the investment process. And this is a question that we get at issuance, which is, how does a company manage success? And Aptera, you're having incredible success, thousands of people coming in. What is that process like? What have you learned? What is it like managing the investor community you've now built beyond your reservation holders?
Yes, so with over 10,000 investments. On average, it's been a good process for us. We're becoming more sophisticated in how we handle it. Hence, we just increase our internal capabilities by implementing Carta. Raising money from your community is actually a lot harder than taking private investments or going through an IPO. And we are ultimately responsible for knowing our customers. We have to have a sophisticated understanding of the rules and regulations, such as anti-money laundering, setting up a transfer agent, and all that fun stuff. But it's good to have an experienced team to help us with the process.
And I am curious personally, you, Sarah, you're in charge of marketing. What kind of investor relations team does Aptera have now that you have this community? Do you have a traditional IR firm? Do you have employees underneath you that manage that community? I'm curious personally what that looks like.
That's a great question. Well, obviously Issuance has been supporting us, with an offering support team. I think that's been incredibly valuable for us to have kind of as a first line of defense. But we are building out our own internal IR team that we will have. I think it's more in line for us. It's, our kind of core philosophy of building out those capabilities, in-house and making sure that we can have these direct communications because, the way that we are raising money, it's really personal. And we have these relationships that we're building on a one-on-one basis with these investors. And so for us, we want to keep it personal. So at some point we may, work with an outside team as we grow. But I think first and foremost, we want to be able to create those relationships that we see as so valuable and so important to us. We want to be able to have those capabilities in-house. So that's our strategy currently.
Very impressive. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here for a minute and just walk the viewers through the investment process. What is it like? 10,000 individuals have gone through this process. Here, what you're seeing is the Aptera campaign page. And, one of the value props and selling points of Issuance is that we're not a marketplace platform. So we enable clients like Aptera to run what we call an owned and operated campaign. The only brand that the consumer or reservation holder or investor sees is the Aptera brand. And what we found over the years is that when given this choice, almost every company would prefer to run a campaign just like this on their own website. And signing up to invest, I'll go through this real quick. So the first thing you do is we put in our email address. This is our demo portal. We set up a password to create an account. And this is fully mobile optimized. I think we're seeing a lot of traffic and a lot of investments happening on mobile for Aptera. I'm an 80s baby. Put in phone number. These are requirements for Reg A Plus, annual income net worth. They don't stop you from investing, but you are required to ask these questions under Reg A Plus. Then you select your investment type. Are you accredited or non-accredited? Moves through the process. And every offering is different. This is a demo platform. You select the number of shares, which equates to a dollar amount. And in this example, the share price is $1. Minimum investment is $100. Street address. And then this defaults to individual investor, but of course you could participate in this Reg A offering as a company or an IRA or other. So it's quite flexible. You can of course participate both as a US citizen or international. So part of the beauty of Reg A Plus is that anyone over the age of 18 globally can legally invest. Aptera has hundreds, if not thousands of investors that have participated outside the US. We've seen investors participate from 30 different countries in some offerings. And then the investor is able to remit payment for Aptera securities by credit card, ACH, wire. You can mail a check as well. think I did 15 ones.
Darren, you'll give us your bank account number and passcode, right?
I hope not. We'll try this one more time.
We won't let you.
I had to have the team do something specific here. Here we go. And so now we're kind of at the confirmation page. I'm investing as an individual in Aptera. This is a $100 investment via credit card. And when you confirm your investment, there's these agreements, the subscription agreement, a custody agreement, customer agreement. I can also opt in to receive updates on my investment by text message. So this is an important part of our system that allows the issuance team to follow up with individual investors. And now I'm digitally signing all of the aforementioned agreements, and the investment is completed. And so usually credit cards clear in 1 to 2 days, and there's a different clearing process. Every investor goes through a KYC AML check, of course, to ensure no money laundering, bad actors, etc. Ultimately, this is an investment process that's designed to be made fast, easy, and efficient for any retail investor. And Aptera has had incredible success in their financing, and we're just so honored, Sarah and Janice, to be working with your team. You know, I guess it would be nice to end this webinar with both the Q&A, but before that is if you could talk for a moment about the future of the business. Where are you taking this company next?
So many exciting things happening and in the pipeline. Our recent signing of a lease for a production facility. We are ramping up to production, so that's next on the horizon. And we're also heavily investing in capital expenditures so we could aid in the effort. And lastly, and I think one of the questions asked was the supply chain. So we're solidifying relationships with key suppliers from all over the world, which is why our lovely Chris is on the airplane right now as we speak. So that's also in our current state of ensuring a future success in production.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we've taken up about 35 minutes of your time. We thank all the viewers. We'll wrap up with just a couple questions here. Greg from Issuance, thank you for highlighting these. Janice, we had a question from a viewer about how you're calculating company value to determine share price. I know you talked about this for a minute. Could you go into maybe a bit more detail there for that particular question?
Yeah, so we look at our order trajectory, we look at the industry valuations, we do a thorough analysis of a lot of data from both PitchBook and from external sources, and that is how we come up with our valuation so that it's a comparable industry, comparable pricing.
Fantastic. And how much capital have you raised in this financing, and how many investors? I know we're talking broad strokes, but maybe give us the specifics.
I mean, how specific do you want to get?
It's up to you.
We have over 8,600 investors. And I mean, there are different categories of them, but yeah, that's the broad stroke.
Broad stroke.
And the investment we raised, we've doubled our goal. We're over 65 mil, but 40 came from crowdfunding.
40 million came from crowdfunding. And how much has the company raised in total?
Over 65 million.
65 million. So I just want to pause
counting. Yes.
And call that out. You've done in a lot of ways the opposite of what most companies might do, which is they go out and raise big institutional rounds and is potentially supplemented by retail investors or the crowd. In your case, you've raised more capital from your community than from other investors. And what I personally believe is that you are a pioneer in an industry, and what you're actually doing is setting a trend that's going to be popular, if not mainstream, in the years ahead. I actually think companies that have communities like Aptera that don't allow those customers or reservation holders to invest could be punished, both as privately held companies or publicly traded companies when they get to public markets. So I commend you on what you've done in giving your fans an opportunity to become investors. We want to be sensitive to time, so we'll go ahead and wrap it. I would like to thank the issuance team for helping organize and market. I'd like to thank Aptera, of course, Sarah and Janice, for your participation and expertise. And once again, would like to congratulate you and your team on an incredible success in your Reg A financing. You have set a very high bar, and we wish you continued success both in your financing and beyond. With that said, you can follow up with any of us. You can learn more about Aptera or issuance, go to our websites. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Darren. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.